Good evening, everyone, and welcome to day 5 of our event. It's called 10 Days of Building a Pathway to Prosperity. And as I like to say, we're only in the 5th inning, and we've already seen some really strong momentum. My name is Tim Blett, and I serve as the Hope Builders Board Chair. Tonight, I will act as the MC, leading us through an exciting lineup of speakers, along with a quick update on Hope Builders. Tonight, you'll hear from Joe Kiani, founder, chairman, and CEO of Massimo. Brianne Medina, Hope Builders medical assistant graduate. Shauna Smith, Hope Builders executive director. And Kevin Manaman, chief executive, Providence. And then we'll wrap up with a quick Q&A. I think you'll see at the bottom of your screen a Q&A button where you can add questions, and we'll cover as many of those as we can at the end of the program. And those that we can't answer during the program tonight, we'll try to get answers back to you. So before we jump in with both feet, I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you on behalf of the Hope Builders Board and the Hope Builders team for joining us tonight. For those of you who are new to Hope Builders is a workforce development agency. We bridge the gap between young adults ages 18 to 28 and employers looking for highly skilled workers. We provide these young adults with mentorship, life skills, and workforce training. And our focus at Hope Builders isn't just about helping them find a job. It's about putting them into a career pathway to prosperity. The good news, we've helped over 6,000 young adults find their way. We have 3 training verticals: medical assisting, construction, and behavioral health. All 3 of these areas are experiencing solid growth right now. This past year was filled with many challenges and some great victories. And tonight, we'd like to share some exciting news straight out of the Hope Builders classroom. Despite the pandemic, Hope Builders has continued to grow and thrive. Last year, we introduced blended learning. That's in-classroom learning and programs that are designated for home learning. Plus, we have expanded our social enterprise operations. We call that group Hope Builders Career Connections. This past year, Hope Builders has enrolled 175 young adults, with 95% of our graduates placed into construction and healthcare jobs. This generated nearly $400,000 in ongoing sustainable income for our social enterprise operations. And that's something we plan to triple in the next 3 years. To reinforce the impact Hope Builders is having with our young adults, let's review a couple of comments from them. And you can read on the screen. I have never been this motivated to achieve my goals and better myself as a person. And that's Justin. Next, David. David says, Hope Builders opened doors for me. I have a chance to grow and actually be somebody. And Maricela says, I learned so many skills at Hope Builders. They helped me realize that everything is possible. These comments provide us some good insight into how these grads feel after completing the program. So now, let me please introduce to you tonight's speaker, Joe Kiani. Joe is founder, chairman, and CEO of Massimo, one of the world's most admired medical technology companies. Joe and Massimo have been issued hundreds of patents worldwide for inventions that have helped to solve the unsolvable problems plaguing patient monitoring. He's a trusted voice for patient safety and care, an advocate for peace, justice, action out of kindness, and solidarity. Joe's journey is reminiscent of David and Goliath. complete with almost insurmountable obstacles and challenges rather than an overnight success. In addition to all of that, Joe is founder, Patient Safety Movement Foundation, founder and chairman of Massimo Foundation for Ethics, Innovation, and Competition in Healthcare. He's also founder, chairman, and CEO of CircaCore. He's member of the board of directors of Children's Hospital of Orange County, and he serves as a board of trustee for Caltech. Our topic tonight is focused on unlocking your greatness. At Hope Builders, we believe there is greatness in everyone we meet, and our purpose is to unlock that greatness for each and every one of the young adults we serve. And now he'll share his life story that's been anything but conventional. Joe?
Thank you so much, Tim. It's a pleasure to be with you all today. I want to thank you, Tim, and the board of directors and the team behind Hope Builders. Thanks for the great work that you're doing. I believe I know why you've chosen me as Hope Builders speaker tonight. Maybe it's if this average Joe can do it, anyone can. And I want to share with you my humble beginnings and where we are now, and then what I think got me here. Next slide, please. Well, I was born in Shiraz, Iran. My family moved to the U.S. when I was 9 years old in Alabama. My dad was going to study being an engineer. My mom was a nurse, and we did not have much money, and we lived in the project. This is actually an image of the projects that I grew up in when I was in Alabama, Huntsville, Alabama. And what I can tell you, and I knew some of my neighbors there, maybe the only difference between my home and their home, where some of my friends there were growing up, was the vision and the expectations that my parents had for me, the visions they gave me, the expectation they had from me. They expected me to get straight A's, not just pass. And they gave me the vision that through education, you can change your life. Next slide, please. I had a very unremarkable childhood, but what was probably remarkable is that I eventually found my passion in engineering. And next slide, please. I found some good mentors over my life. My professor, Fred Harris from San Diego State University, to Dr. Jeremy Swan, who's a famous cardiologist that I met years later when I started Massimo. But these mentors inspired me, along with my mom and dad, to do what I ended up doing in my life. Next slide, please. Now, this is my condo in 1989, where I started Massimo in my garage. It's the second garage on that picture. And I had bought that home at the age of 22, 23. By the way, I started college at 15 and began working as a co-op engineer at Unisys at 18. And I moved to Orange County in, I guess it was 1996, actually 1986. And in 1989, I started Massimo, and this condo had gone up in value. I was able to get a $40,000 loan on this condo, and with it, I started Massimo. Next slide, please. This is me at the time in my bedroom working on the product. Our product was going to be a pulse oximeter, which you may have heard a lot about these days because of COVID, that measures oxygen saturation and pulse rate non-invasively. But ours was going to be unique in that it was going to work through patient motion and low perfusion, which at the time were the Achilles heel of pulse oximetry. 70 to 90% of alarms were false. And on the sickest people, they didn't work. And I had just gotten my master's in the area of adaptive filters and signal processing, and I thought I could solve that problem. Next slide, please. Not much longer after I started my company, fellow engineers joined me. You see Mohammed there on the right. Actually, that's me. The third person in between us is my dad and some of the engineers that first started Massimo with me. Next slide, please. Now, we did do what we set out to do. We did solve this problem that every other company in the industry had given up on. We made a pulse oximeter that could work through motion and low perfusion. But as Tim said, we began hitting some of those obstacles. We had a company that had 90% market share that took advantage of the system and paid the GPOs, which were middlemen between companies that supply things to hospitals and hospitals. And they were allowed to legally take money from suppliers. And our competitor, Melcor, which is at the time part of Tyco and now Medtronic, they paid millions of dollars to these GPOs to not allow our technology in the hospitals. And that's where I got one of my first lucky moments. I got a call from Walt Bogdanich, who had broken the nicotine story for Wall Street Journal, and had heard about this problem and had heard that our technology was so good. It was the first one cleared by the FDA to work through motion and low perfusion, that it was saving babies' eyesight in the neonatal ICU, but that we couldn't sell it in the United States. And he told me if I'm willing to talk about it publicly, he and a team at New York Times would investigate it and blow the cover off of this problem. And I did, and they did. And this is me on the New York Times article that came out in March 2002. They did about 15 stories. And when this story first came out, and we were the poster child of this problem, I got a call from the Senate asking me if I would testify in front of the judiciary in Washington, D.C., which a month later I was testifying, my first time ever there. And sure enough, within months, every GPO put Massimo on contract, and our sales began to explode. We're now the leading pulse oximeter company in the world, and over 200 million people are monitored with our technology every year. And our technology has been proven to clinically reduce retinopathy prematurity in babies, which led to 2,000 babies becoming blind every year, to helping detect newborns that look healthy that had congenital heart defect before they're discharged home, and save lives of patients on opioids on the general floor. In fact, we just launched in Western Europe a wearable product with a smartphone app for helping people with opioid prescription use or illicit use from getting dying from overdose. So I'm very excited about that. But it took not just many years of hard work to make the product. I can tell you the first 7 years since I began Massimo, I took no vacation. I took 2 4-day weekends, except a couple of times when I got sick. And but obviously it paid off. Next slide, please. When I started Massimo, I thought hard about what should the ethics of our company be. Should it be my personal ethics, or should it be something different? A lot of people think of companies as a place where anyone can do whatever they want as long as it advances shareholder value in return. But I didn't think that was the only thing. I thought we had to do things the right way. My personal integrity and ethics should become the company's. And I wrote down these guiding principles, and these have helped me over the years make hard decisions easy. Number 1, remain faithful to your promises and responsibility. Number 2, thrive on fascination and accomplishment and not on greed and power. Number 3, strive to make each year better than the year before, both personally and for the team. And number 4, make each day as fun as possible. And that means finding what you're passionate about, but also at the end of the day, whether you have an hour left or a few hours left before you go to bed, doing something fun and not falling in a rut of watching TV or doing social media, but just getting out there, enjoying the outdoors and being with friends and family. Now, the last one, do what is best for patient care. That one came later. I added it after I sat in a 5-week patent trial against Nelcor, who would infringe on our IP. And I learned along the way some of the worst decisions they made for their company was because they forgot they were in the business of doing what's best for patient care. And that's a long story that maybe I'll get into later, but let's just say, look, it doesn't mean we give our stuff away. We still have to stay in business, but you got to make sure we're doing what's best for patients. That's the business we're in. Next slide, please. Our mission has been to improve patient outcomes and reduce cost of care by taking non-invasive monitoring to new sites and applications. We knew if we could make pulse oximeters reliable and accurate, we could take it to places where it was needed, but because of the false alarm, they couldn't use it. Next slide, please. Now, this is, I think, our 4th or 5th building after we moved out of my condo. Next slide. This is where we're headquartered now. We have several buildings in Orange County, but more outside the US. In fact, many movies were filmed here before we bought it. We stopped letting movies film here because of the distraction, but Iron Man was filmed there, and many, many others. And it's a beautiful place from very humble beginning, and we're enjoying and being inspired. I think Churchill said, sometimes people make buildings and sometimes buildings make people. And I hope this building makes some great people. Next slide, please. But beyond Massimo, beyond what we did in saving babies' eyesights, helping people with opioid overdose, we also thought there's a bigger world out there, and how can we get in and help, starting with our local community and going out. Next slide, please. So if you remember, about a decade ago, Haiti had a terrible earthquake. We raised a lot of money, sent a lot of equipment to Haiti to help out. Next slide. There's one more shot of Haiti. Another one, please. And then we began building schools in Uganda. This has been a very satisfying experience. I became friends with President Clinton, and I got the opportunity to firsthand see some of the amazing work he was doing around the world, talk about building soft power by helping people. And I got inspired in one of the visits we had together in Africa to help build some schools up there, to let grade school kids have a chance. Up until then, there was no school. And some of these kids still have to walk about 10 kilometers just to get to school every day. Next slide, please. I'm in the very back up there. And there's me again in one of the classrooms when we went back to visit some of the schools that were built. I was taking a picture. Next slide. Another slide, please. This is some of the more work we've done with getting equipment out to places that needed it. Next slide. One of our trips, in fact, I know Tim, he said earlier, his heritage is Macedonia. I think here we're in Cyprus, visiting the university up there. Next slide, please. Here we were in, I think in Rwanda, helping these kids who had unfortunately lost their hearing and installing hearing aids in all these young kids. Next slide, please. Now, I mentioned earlier that I testified in 2002 regarding the GPOs getting paid off to give sole source contract to the dominant suppliers. Here's me about 10 years ago testifying regarding patient safety. Most of you probably don't know this, but 200,000 people die of medical errors in our hospitals every year. That's 2 planes crashing daily. And the number is 3 million worldwide. And of course, people think, well, look, humans make errors. What are we going to do about it? Well, I'll tell you, there is evidence-based practices that if they were implemented, about 40 of them, you could probably get close to zero, if not zero. In fact, Children's Hospital of Orange County, which you notice I'm a member of their board and chairman of the quality committee, we implemented those practices. And it's been over 4.5 years. We haven't had a single preventable death. So one of the things I'm really proud of is the work we did to get patient safety on the minds of the people that could do something about it, from nurses and doctors to executives, but even government officials. Our work helped pave the way for the ministerial summit on patient safety that Jeremy Hunt, Secretary of Health of UK, began. And now World Health Organization has made a 10-year goal to eliminate preventable deaths from medical errors. And they've begun World Patient Safety Day, the 3rd anniversary, which is September 17th. Next slide, please. We also created a scholarship at Chapman for really bright kids that couldn't afford to go to Chapman for their engineering school. And we also created a program at Caltech where we send kids with high potential from schools like Santa Ana High to Caltech for summer programs, which I'm really, really happy about. Next slide, please. Some of the work that I was able to do on patient safety, really thanks to President Clinton, who supported it and came to 8 of our summits year after year, drawing the people in. Next slide, please. Our accomplishments since 2012, when we started it, this is what's been reported by the hospitals who joined, but nearly 5,000 hospitals committed to eliminating preventable deaths across 46 countries, and they saved 377,353 lives. Nearly 90 companies, including Massimo, made a pledge to share the data that their products were purchased for, so that we could give birth to the patient data superhighway and an ecosystem that you could have predictive algorithms help clinicians figure out problems before it's too late. And like I said, this has become a global thing. We began as a US movement, and it's now gone to 66 countries. Next slide, please. One of the things that people ask me is, how do you do it? Hard work. One of the things I have to say, as a kid who immigrated from Iran, Iran took hostages in '79. So all of a sudden we were hostage takers, yet no door was ever shut on me. We have a country that celebrates merit. It's a meritocracy. And if you work hard, we can make it. And unfortunately, sometimes people think the cards are stacked against them, but they're not. You just have to decide what you want to do with your life, and you can be the architect of your life. Now, it doesn't mean it comes without sacrifice. Look, I gave up my teens and 20s to do what I did, but it is extremely rewarding. And as you know better than me, work can be more pleasurable than what some people call fun time. So next slide, please. And I want to close with this. There was many times from being blocked in US hospitals. Before that, even raising money, I had to raise over $100 million from venture capitalists, to then coming out and having the biggest company try to squash us, to then having issues after issues. We could have given up any time. But if you don't give up, if you have a good plan and you're doing something good for the world, if you just remember this, persistence, 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 that is the magic. You don't give up. And here, average Joe, I've been able to accomplish a lot. And I've been lucky. I won't say it, but I know the more hard you work, the luckier you get. So that's my presentation. I hope you find it useful. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
So, average Joe, I'm very impressed that you went from the garage to Iron Man facility. Your story is truly one of a superhero. Traveling the globe and helping the human race. So what an amazing and inspirational story. And your final words of persistence, persistence, persistence is just really, really good advice. I've got just a couple quick questions for you. Out of all the things that you could have done, you chose inventing devices that I can barely pronounce. What led you, what steered you towards that?
Probably parents. My mom was a nurse, my dad was an engineer, and I really wanted to help. I remember when I was a kid, my mom would take me sometimes when she'd go out on visits to villages to help people. And I actually wanted to be a doctor. I went to SDSU as a pre-med, but I was really bad at chemistry. Fortunately, the same semester I was taking chemistry, I was taking physics, and I realized, hey, I'm good at physics and math. So I went the engineering route, but I think sometimes you work really hard to open doors, and sometimes doors open up for you. If you know what you want, you step in it. And I really wanted to help people. My calling was helping people. I remember opportunities to work for defense contractors and making computers, and that just was not me. I really wanted to get into life sciences.
Hmm. Oh, that's great. So knowing the challenge of medical costs is one of our big challenges across the board, and you mentioned that that's one of your core principles is to be able. Can you just share an example with us that we might be able to relate to?
Yes, of course. First of all, I believe every innovation that's truly innovative, it saves money. By the way, every one of the processes we want hospitals to implement to eliminate medical errors from killing people also long-term saves money. But the best example I can give you, our innovation, just our pulse oximeters, because they're reliable, they work through motion and low perfusion. You don't, in the old days, they would put 2, 3 sensors on someone when they were rolling him into the operating room in hopes to have one of them work. They couldn't monitor patients in the general ward, and that meant that they had to keep them in the ICU longer. A study that just came out of Dartmouth Hitchcock showed in 10 years when they studied our technology on the general floor, they had no more brain damage or opioid related deaths in the group that had our technology. And in the group that didn't, they had that. Plus, in the group that had our technology, they reduced ICU transfers by 50% and rapid response team activation by 60%, which ended up saving them $7 million annually after the cost of the technology.
Mm, 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 mm. Great example. So one of your core values, core principles is to have fun and to do something before you go to bed at night. What is your fun outside of, I'm sure that the adrenaline flows as you're inventing and thinking up things and doing that, but share a quick story about fun.
Well, I have now 3 children. 2 of them are, I guess they're no longer children. They're 20 and 19 in college, but I still have a 12-year-old son. Ever since I had my kids, my fun was just been hanging out with them, just taking it all in. I love the games they play. I love their sense of curiosity. Yeah, that's what I enjoy.
Yeah.
Before that, being with friends, going to the beach, going out to parties. But yeah, once you have kids, they really change what makes you happy.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, that's great. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that. I'm convinced that this story will help inspire many others and those that are tuned in tonight. We will have a Q&A period at the end. So we'll be right back with you shortly. But next up is Brianne. And Brianne, as I said, is Hope Builders Medical Assistant graduate. We are proud to announce that Brianne is just about to join the team at Providence. Tonight, she has graciously agreed to share how the Hope Builders program has given her the tools and support to transform her life. So, Brianne, over to you.
Hello. First off, I'd like to thank you all for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to tell you a little bit about myself. It's very scary, overwhelming, but it's a rewarding feeling because if I'm being quite honest, back then I had to actually plan my funeral before I had ever planned my future. So that's what makes it very scary and rewarding being here with you all today. Okay, so my name is Brianne Medina and I'm 23 years old. I grew up in Anaheim, California. Growing up, I had both parents. My mother worked as a social worker for Orange County for 24 years, and my dad was a plumber for 22 years. Growing up, both my parents, they had their own addictions and their own battles. My parents were both alcoholics and they both struggled with methamphetamine. Growing up, I've seen a whole lot of violence, being around gangs, and have either been through or seen all types of abuse. So yeah, but this was my normal, and if it was not an almost, it was an everyday routine. My dad tried really hard to distract me from it all though. He enrolled me in sports. At the age of 5, I played softball and it really did help me. But unfortunately, when I got off the field, I had a lot of anger. I had a lot of pain and I was always so scared because I knew what was to come at home. With my parents being on those addiction, I never knew what type of mother I was gonna have. Yeah, I never knew what type of mother I was gonna have. It was, my mother, she was a raging alcoholic. She was either gonna hit me or hit my brother. She was most likely gonna go back to jail, or she would be my favorite. I like to say she would just sleep all day. When I was 14, I had to get my first job to help my brother and my dad with the bills. My mom's addictions had finally caught up with her and it forced her to resign. 2 years later, my dad eventually followed in her footsteps and lost his job as well. My parents decided from then on we would move to New Mexico. If you don't know, New Mexico is actually one of the dangerous states, and where we were living, it was a very dangerous city. My first day of school, I was approached by my family's old king, and they had given me a choice. They had told me I was either going to be with them or I was going to be against them. And believe me, in a small town like that with like less than 8,400 people, you don't want to be with that gang, but you don't want to be against them either. So from then on, I went back home and I told my parents what had taken place, and they knew right away I couldn't stay with them anymore. I couldn't be there with them. And so at age 16, my parents decided to emancipate me. And sorry. I just remember feeling when I got emancipated, I felt very happy. So after I got emancipated, I came back to California. I lived with my aunt, but that didn't last long because shortly after when I arrived back, I got pregnant at almost 17. I moved in with my partner, and I immediately went back into school. I went to school at Gilbert Continuation School. And from there, I was offered a prenatal class. And to me, that class was such a blessing because I had no idea how to, prepare to like be a mother, or, I had no idea how to like schedule doctor's appointments, insurances, and things of like that. I didn't even know what prenatals were. I didn't know why I needed to take them. So that class definitely helped me. And my teacher, her name was Miss B. She was very supportive, and she helped me a lot. She even signed me up with a family partnership class. It's a nurse who's with you for 2 years, and she's with you and your child. And sorry. Yeah, she was more than just a nurse with me. She helped me with a lot of things. She even helped me to prepare for school. And from then on, I knew I wanted to be just like her. She was a resource to me, and I wanted to be just like her. I wanted to be that resource to other young women as well, or expecting mothers, or just anybody who had little to no resources with insurance or things like that. So a few months after that, I graduated. I graduated 3 months early, and I had my daughter. My nurse was with me every step of the way. She even started to help me plan for school, but little did we both know how much more longer I'd actually have to put that on hold, because after my daughter had turned 2 months, I was expecting my second child. Time passed, and I eventually graduated from the familyship program. And my nurse had to leave us, so it was very hard. And when she left, I felt like the little support I had was gone, and me and my partner struggled a lot. He was getting in trouble, and we were both just struggling to work like our survival jobs just to make ends meet. And we both weren't happy, and my depression had gotten worse than it ever was. And I just didn't want to be here no more at all. And the year 2019, I began to experiment a little bit with drugs, and but mainly I turned into a little alcoholic myself. I was drinking a lot. And then things were going downhill until one day I took my kids to the park, and an old best friend of mine from school was there as well with her daughter. And immediately I remember when she had asked me how I was and how I was doing, I just broke down to her, and I told her I wasn't doing well at all. And she sat there, she cried with me, and she asked me if I was ready to change and if I was serious about it, because what she was about to tell me, she said the school she's about to tell me to was absolutely no joke at all. Like, I had to take it seriously, and I was ready. I told her, yes, I want to know. And it turns out she was actually an alumni herself from Hope Builders. She's an alumni from Hope Builders, and she helped me. It took a couple hours, but we filled out the application, and it all went uphill from there. My first day of orientation, I thought all the instructors, I thought everyone was crazy. I've been on my own since I was 16, and the amount of rules and how much studying I had to do, how much exams we did, they let us know it would be 2 to 3 exams a week. I thought they were all crazy. I thought I was in way over my head. Yeah, I thought I was just in way over my head. But that first week of school, I remember Ms. Diaz, our instructor, she had told us all congratulations. And I thought that was so weird that she was telling us congratulations for our first week, but she told us congratulations because not a lot of people make it the first week. It does take dedication, and it's hard work. You're studying all night. I remember I would study up till like 3 a.m. But that's how serious I was about it. And it meant a lot to me when she told me congratulations, because it showed me she really did care. And I really needed to hear that from her. And that may sound silly to people, but to me, it was everything. She genuinely cared for us, and I know I didn't want to disappoint her or any other instructors that I had at the time. And I realized I wasn't alone as the class kept going and as the course was going. A lot of students, as myself, we all opened up and we realized, we all had struggles, so we all felt safe with each other. And I started to finally feel happy because I knew I wasn't the only one going through something. And I wasn't the only one that came from a bad background. Unfortunately, throughout the program, I did have 2 losses. And it really hit me really hard. And on May 1st of this year, my family, we received the scariest news. My boyfriend's sister, kids, and my brother-in-law. Sorry. They were in a shooting, and it unfortunately it took my brother-in-law's life. But despite everything, that my family was going through, they were really there for me. They told me to keep pushing because it was a lot on me and my family, but they told me to keep pushing, and I did. And I talked to the instructors, and Miss Rebecca, Miss Diaz, Miss Aida, they were all there for me. And then on May 30th, the day of my brother-in-law's funeral, and one of my actually a really big exam came up for us as well. I received another phone call from my side of the family, and it was an unexpected phone call from my grandmother. She told me that she was on her last as well, and she told me how proud she was of me, that I came a long way, and she just wanted me to. She wanted me to just keep myself on track and to not let this, distract me of anything. So to just keep going, because that's mainly what she wanted for me. And I remember feeling the biggest weight on my shoulders. And I thought at the time I was gonna be done with hope builders. To be honest, I thought it was too much on me and the pain I was feeling. But for weeks I was even unfocused, and I did fail one exam for the first time. But talking to Miss Rebecca, talking to Miss Diaz, they were there for me. They told me not to quit, because I didn't deserve to quit and I deserved to finish. And I remember Miss Diaz telling me I earned it. Like I earned it. And they both told me to just take the weekend and to just think about it. But it meant a lot to me, because my instructors, they believed in me, and they wanted the best for me. They wanted me to keep pushing. And I remember Miss Rebecca telling me, if I didn't think that you could finish and you would do something good with yourself, I would let you quit, but I'm not gonna let you. So I pushed through. I came back that Monday and I retook that exam and I passed. And it felt amazing being sent out to my externship, because I killed it. So today I can tell you that I am now starting off my career with an amazing opportunity with St. Joseph Health. I'll be starting on September 13th. And I would just like to tell you all, being a part of Hope Builders is such a blessing to my family and I. And I will forever be grateful and thankful for getting this chance and for all the instructors and everybody that came into my life and pushed me because I needed to be pushed and I needed to be, I needed it. So, and I can guarantee you if it wasn't for Hope Builders, I wouldn't be here today because I was in a very bad place, but it worked and it helped. And I'm very thankful for Hope Builders. I really am, because what they're doing and how much they really do care for us, it really does make a difference. So I just want to say thank you.
So Brianne, you and I spoke leading into this about the courage that it would take and the courage you demonstrate tonight and how much that would help others. So we want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
Your story of perseverance and commitment and hard work and the mentors that help you. I know that you were a star student, so everybody at Hope Builders is very proud that you pushed forward, as you said, and now you're going on to do some really great things. So thank you for sharing your story tonight. It was very powerful. One of the benefits of our program is providing support beyond the training and the job search. As part of that effort, we're building out a community of mentors and graduates to be able to support each other, as they navigate their career. And as people leave the training program and start working on their careers, we're hoping that they'll carry with them in the community a badge of honor, which we use internally. We call it once a Hope Builder, always a Hope Builder. So again, thank you, Brianne, for sharing your story. Now I'm going to turn it over to Shauna, Executive Director for Hope Builders, to introduce today's benefactor, Providence, represented by Kevin. Shauna?
Thank you for the introduction, Tim. And before I introduce Kevin, I just want to thank both Joe and Brianne for your stories of persistence. I love that persistence, and your unwillingness to quit, both of you, when facing different challenges and believing in the promise of something better. So thank you for sharing those inspiring thoughts with us today. That's definitely what I'll be taking away. It is truly my honor to introduce Kevin Manaman, the Chief Executive of Providence in Southern California, and he's also a longtime supporter of Hope Builders. For more than 100 years, Providence has served the Orange County community, initially as a local ministry of the Sisters of St. Joseph of Orange, and today as a healthcare system with 52 hospitals, over 1,000 clinics, and over 120,000 caregivers, all of which are employees. They are truly leaders in the industry. And because of our shared founders, we also show many of our many common values. The foremost being a care for the needs of the dear neighbor without distinction. Really trying to identify the needs of the community around us and to be present and to serve those needs. Over the years, Providence has invested more than $1 million into Hope Builders efforts and employed countless young people in healthcare careers. Thank you for being here with us this evening, Kevin, and for the commitment of Providence to our work.
Hey, thank you, Shauna, for the very nice introduction. But more importantly, I really want to thank Joe and Brianne. Your stories were amazing, Brianne. I'm so inspired by your perseverance and your commitment to your family and just continuing to to work through. And this is exactly what Hope Builders is about, is really giving people a pathway and an opportunity. Your story was moving, it was inspiring, and thank you for being vulnerable and willing to share. Joe, I think your perseverance and commitment to a vision and really your commitment to education changes your life. And that's really what your parents instilled in you. And I think that you really demonstrated that in your talk. Amazingly, the pulse oximeters that you talk about, we are using those all the time in Providence and actually doing stuff with people at home. And when COVID was really in the beginning phases, we were monitoring people at home with pulse ox to keep them out of the ED. And if they, drop below a certain level, we were pulling them in. So really just awesome technology that we've been using and continue to use. And we see that moving more and more into the home. So your stories are amazing. Thank you for sharing them. We know that in Orange County alone, there's 37,000 young adults aged 16 to 24 who are not working or not enrolled in school. We know all too well the trajectory that they may be on. Many will end up on drugs, join gangs, be chronically unemployed. We have the power to change that for many of these young adults. That's why I personally support Hope Builders. And that's why Providence is a proud sponsor of Hope Builders for the last 26 years. Providence has a very special connection with Hope Builders. It is a ministry that was founded by Sister Eileen McNerney, a sister of St. Joseph of Orange, and one of the sponsoring congregations of Providence. Our Providence mission of serving all, especially those who are poor and vulnerable, perfectly aligns with the mission of Hope Builders. Through mentorship programs, education, and workforce training, Hope Builders empowers young adults, enabling them to change the course of their lives, in many cases from poverty to prosperity. That is why this campaign, 10 Days of Building a Pathway to Prosperity, is super important. The funds raised will allow Hope Builders to enroll more young adults into training programs. You heard Brianne's story and about how Hope Builders changed her life. And we're super excited that, as Brianne shared, she'll be starting with St. Joe's on September 13 and working in one of our offices in Brea. Welcome to the Providence family, Brianne. I think you will find it an amazing place. And we hope that you continue to be inspired and grow in your career here at Providence. Brianna actually joins many other Hope Builder alumni now working for Providence. And we're so thankful for these talented individuals who have joined our team over the last several years. And this is why I encourage all of you to join us this evening to support Hope Builders by providing an Amigo scholarship, $1,000, or donating to the Career Registry. Your support will transform the life of a young adult. Please also share information about the campaign with your friends, your personnel that you work with, your professional networks. It's such an amazing program. It's changed the lives of so many people in Orange County. We need to continue to do this. We have so many people that we can put into good career paths and really help take care of our community and ultimately improve the health of our community. So with that, thank you so much to both of you again for sharing your stories. Tim, thank you for your leadership. And with that, I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you. So a couple thank you, Shauna, thank you for all the work that you do at Hope Builders. And Kevin, a great big thank you for 20 plus years of support. It's changed countless lives along the way, and we're so grateful for your support. So, well then, we covered a lot of ground in an hour, and it's a lot to take in all at once. So we're a couple seconds over the top of the hour. I really want to thank everyone, all of the people that spoke tonight, and all of you that logged in to hear about our campaign. Please log on to our website for more information. There's two great ways to give, and one is to become a Amigo, to fund an Amigo, which is a scholarship for one of our students to go through the program. And then there's also a career registry that provides all the essentials that somebody needs to go through the program, including things like bus passes, and a whole lot of other items. And then one last note, please tune in tomorrow. Also, our final speaker, Dominique Dawes, Olympic gold medal winner. She's going to share her story about unlocking her greatness. So Goodbye for now.